3D printing has made its way into almost every corner of the audio industry. Some builders are printing entire speaker cabinets directly from plastic filament. Others are printing grills, baffles, small structural parts. There's even a growing DIY community built entirely around 3D printed speaker designs. And honestly, it's impressive what people are pulling off with a desktop printer and some filament. But here's what most people don't know. 3D printing plays a very different role in how I build my Arcus speakers. Not the cabinet itself, but in ways that I'd argue matter just as much. And in some cases, ways that give a small boutique builder like me a genuine advantage over mass production companies with million-dollar tooling budgets. Let me show you exactly how. Let's start with the parts you'll most likely never see, but they're permanently built into every single Arcus speaker. So this is the Neo 3 tweeter holder. This is the port tube. And this is the crossover component board that keeps Danny's hand-built crossover exactly where it needs to be inside the cabinet. In a mass production environment, parts like these would be injection molded. That means hiring a tooling engineer, cutting a steel mold, and committing to a minimum order quantity, often in the thousands. Significant upfront cost before a single speaker ships. I print my 3D printed parts on a Bambu X1C. The material cost is minimal. Design change in CAD, and you got a new part the next day. And with the port tube, I can experiment with different lengths, with different flared ends, without any tooling cost or lead time. Print it, test it, and refine it. That's the kind of iteration that would cost thousands of dollars and weeks of lead time in a mass production environment. These aren't just prototype parts, they're permanent components inside my speaker, made possible because 3D printing has matured to the point where material options, dimensional accuracy, and surface quality are genuinely production worthy. I want to thank this week's sponsor, Pale Blue Batteries. They've got these really cool batteries that have a USB-C charging port right on the battery. No need for a wall charger. Just take a power bank on the go and have power anytime you need it. Pale Blue Batteries, they're awesome. So now I want to be clear about something. In a lot of cases, an injection molded part is the superior end product compared to a 3D printed part. It has better surface finish, higher material density, more consistent at scale. Injection molding is a mature, proven manufacturing technology for a good reason. But there are specific situations where 3D printing wins, and geometry is one of them. When you're designing a part with complex internal features, undercuts, channels, curves that change direction, injection molding either just can't do it, or the tooling cost to do it correctly is just prohibitive. 3D printing doesn't care about any of that. If you can design it in CAD, typically you can print it. Let's look at this Neo 3 tweeter holder. The part looks fairly simple, but there's a groove right here, and that's where the tweeter sits into. That groove runs perfectly parallel. No taper, no draft. But here's the problem with molding that. To release this part from a mold, you need what's called a core pull, a mold section that slides away before the part ejects. And the core pull requires draft. That draft would make this groove tight at the top and loose at the bottom, and the tweeter wouldn't seat correctly. The precision fit is gone. 3D printing doesn't have that problem. The groove is perfectly parallel because I designed it that way in CAD. No compromises from the tooling requirements. Now there's one more way that 3D printing shows up in the Arcus build process, and this one might surprise you. The concrete cabinet itself isn't 3D printed, but the molds that cast the prototypes were. When I was developing the Arcus, I needed to iterate on the cabinet geometry, the wall thickness, internal volume, driver placement, the rounded square profile. Every one of those decisions affects the final product, and every one of them needed to be tested in a real physical cast before I could commit to production tooling. 3D printing made that possible. I could take a design change in CAD, print a new mold section, and have a freshly cast cabinet in my hands within days. That kind of iteration speed simply didn't exist in speaker manufacturing before desktop 3D printing became viable. Now, 3D printed molds are not the permanent solution. They're not dimensionally stable enough for long-term production. The build plate size limits how large each mold section can be, and they're just not designed to last. They're designed to get the speaker design right. Once I had the design locked in, I moved to production tooling. Dimensionally stable, consistent pull after pull, and built to last. And here's the thing, the production tooling I developed uses a casting process that 3D printing simply can't reproduce. But I would have never gotten there without the 3D printing first. So it got me to the final design, it got me to the point where I was ready to commit, and that's exactly what it was supposed to do. And that's the real role 3D printing played in the Arcus speaker cabinet development. Not the end product, the path to the end product. If you want to learn more about the Arcus speaker or get your hands on one, head over to StoneSonicAudio.com. The link is in the description below, and we'll see you next time.